Okay, so hey guys, welcome back to another Sport This Week video, and in today's video I've got basketball, tennis, ice hockey, darts, cricket, football, boxing, UFC, Formula 1 and NFL news. If you are new around here though and you haven't subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do need like the video, and let's get straight into it. So, I'm going to start off with the basketball news this week, and so Warriors lost 120 to 116 versus Nets. Lakers won 121 to 112 versus Blazers. Celtics lost 113 to 98 versus Magic. Heat won a 98 to 95 versus Celtics. Lakers lost 133 to 115 versus Clippers. Warriors won 122 to 120 versus Grizzlies. Lakers won 113 to 104 versus Spurs. Celtics lost 120 to 117 versus Knicks. Heat won 110 to 105 versus Magic. Warriors won 129 to 117 versus Raptors. Celtics won 125 to 121 versus Lakers, and Heat won 122 to 117 versus Hornets. And that is all the basketball news. Moving on now to the tennis news, where it was the continuation of the Australian Open. And so Djokovic won 3-0 versus De Minaur. Tsitsipas won 3-0 versus Lehecka. Djokovic won 3-0 versus Rublev. Tsitsipas won 3-1 versus Kachanov. Djokovic won 3-0 versus Paul. Sabalenka won 2-1 versus Rybakina to win the Women's Singles Australian Open. Hijikata and Kubler won 2-0 versus Nis and Zielinski to win the Men's Doubles Australian Open. And Djokovic won 3-0 versus Tsitsipas to win the Men's Singles Australian Open. And that is all the tennis news. A big congratulations to Djokovic to being able to win the Australian Open. It's a big achievement. And also, of course, congratulations to both Sabalenka and Hijikata and Kubler. All being able to win a big major tournament. And so now moving on to the ice hockey news. Bruins won 4-0 versus Sharks. Maple Leafs won 5-2 versus Islanders. Bruins won 4-2 versus Canadians. Red Wings won 3-2 versus Sharks. Maple Leafs won 3-2 versus Rangers. Bruins lost 3-2 versus Lightning. Red Wings won 4-3 versus Canadians. Red Wings lost 2-0 versus Islanders. Maple Leafs lost 6-2 versus Senators. Bruins lost 4-3 versus Panthers. Senators lost 5-0 versus Canadians. Kuzmenko has signed a 2-year deal with Canucks. Bruins lost 4-1 versus Hurricanes, and Maple Leafs won 5-1 versus Capitals. And that is all the ice hockey news. Moving on now to the darts news, where it was the Ladbrokes, the Masters. And so Humphries lost 10-8 versus Doby. Price lost 10-8 versus Van Venboed. Wright won 10-7 versus Kisnal. Smith won 10-7 versus Smith. Van Gerwen won 10-7 versus De Souza. Smith won 10-5 versus Nopert. Wright won 10-6 versus Clayton. Van Gerwen lost 10-7 versus Cross. Smith won lost 11-7 versus Doby. Wright lost 11-10 versus Cross. Doby won 11-7 versus Cross to win the Ladbrokes the Masters. And that is all the darts news. Moving on now to the football news. Lampard has been sacked by Everton. Danjuma has joined Spurs. Cantwell has joined Rangers. Kiwior has joined Arsenal. Duran has joined Villa. Peroni has joined Man City. Spurs won 1-0 versus Fulham. Empoli won 1-0 versus Inter. Leipzig won 6-1 versus Schalke. Lazio won 4-0 versus Milan. Newcastle won 1-0 versus Southampton. Everton is up for sale by the owners. Silva has joined PSV. Man U won 3-0 versus Forest. Barcelona won 1-0 versus Sociedad. Dortmund won 2-1 versus Mainz. Foster has joined Burnley. Bree has joined Southampton. Torre has been sacked by Wigan. Real Madrid won 3-1 versus Atletico Madrid. Ferguson has been appointed Forest Green manager, which I know isn't major news, but I just would like to see Tony Ferguson back in the managerial game. Beat has retired from international football. Lamucci has been appointed by Cardiff. Semenyo has joined Bournemouth. Man City won 1-0 versus Arsenal. Gordon has joined Newcastle. Randolph has joined Bournemouth. Man U won 3-1 versus Reading. Spurs won 3-0 versus Preston. Bayern drew 1-1 versus Frankfurt. Leeds won 3-1 versus Accrington Stanley. Southampton won 2-1 versus Blackpool. Leicester won 1-0 versus Walsall. Fulham drew 1-1 versus Sunderland. Dieng has joined Lorient. Marseille drew 1-1 versus Monaco. Gusto has joined Chelsea. Trippier has signed a contract with Newcastle until 2025. Tete has joined Leicester. Brighton won 2-1 versus Liverpool. Monza won 2-0 versus Juventus. Dortmund won 2-0 versus Leverkusen. Lazio drew 1-1 versus Fiorentina. PSG drew 1-1 versus Reims. Napoli won 2-1 versus Roma. Real Madrid drew 0-0 versus Sociedad. And Aston Belonga has joined Watford. And that is all the football news. Moving on now to the cricket news. Stokes has been named ICC Men's Test Cricketer of the Year, so congratulations to him. South Africa won by 27 runs versus England. New Zealand won by 21 runs versus India. India won by 6 wickets versus New Zealand. And South Africa won by 5 wickets versus England. And that is all the cricket news. Moving on now to the boxing news. Barrios versus Santiago. Pero versus Vikistarist will fight on the 11th of February. Bowen will fight on the 18th of February. Idubs will fight Wasabi on the 15th of April, which is, an interesting fight on the YouTube kind of boxing side of things. Owen will fight on the 25th of March. Good to see him back. We've had him on the channel, so it was a pleasure. Matias versus Ponce and James versus Palometa will fight on the 25th of February. Heaney versus Flatley rematch. Kane versus Baluta. Chapman versus Sedlakova. And Itoma will fight on the 25th of March. Green has joined Most Valuable Promotions. Neri will fight Hovhannissian on the 18th of February. Benavides will fight Plant on the 25th of March, which is a fight I'm very excited for. Will definitely set up that big fight versus Canelo for either of them two. It's a rematch for Plant or a fight for Benavides versus Canelo, whoever wins that one. Fierro versus Estella. Nunes versus Bustamante. And Rodriguez versus Ortiz will fight on the 4th of March. Ramirez versus Dogbo, Zayas, Gonzalez versus Vivas, Milton, Tucker versus Seknigshvili, Johnson, Mason versus Benjamin Jr. will all fight on the 1st of April. Rivera has joined Matchroom. Rivera will fight Diaz on the 4th of February. Paul will fight Fury on the 26th of February, which is an actual big fight in the kind of YouTube crossover boxing kind of scene. It's a fight which has been brewing for a while now and is something which I'm very much looking forward to. Where was I? Kenny versus Raksu, Dean the Great versus Arif, Walid Sharks versus MNA Productions, Wet versus Bunker, Ginty versus Halal Ham, and Tempo Arts versus Godson will fight on the 4th of March. Broner will fight Williams on the 25th of February. TKV will fight Armstrong on the 11th of February. Green will fight Sedarus on the 4th of February. Itoma won by KO in round 1 versus Bode. Ali won by stoppage in round 1 versus Gogosevic. Franken won via points versus Hardy. Abdullah won via points versus Lara. Fletcher won via points versus Sharp. Noakes won via KO in round 5 versus Garces. Khan won via points versus Bahati. Franken won by points versus Ocampo. Maderna won by KO in round 5 versus Itoma to become WBC International Light Heavyweight Champion. Dalakian won by unanimous decision versus Jimenez to remain WBA World Flyweight Champion, which I did predict right. Beterbiev won by TKO in round 8 versus Yard to remain IBF, WBC and WBO World Light Heavyweight Champion. And I did predict it right. I said it would be a bit more of an easier job for Beterbiev, but fair play to Yard. He was a very tough fight for Beterbiev and really showed and kind of forced Beterbiev to really prove it himself. And I think the power kind of was the main factor of why he won. He could have lost that fight, but he didn't, of course. Now he's setting up this big fight versus Bivol, which really has to happen next. Jarvis has joined Kingpin. Melikuziev won via KO in round 3 versus Sierra to become WBO Global Super Middleweight Champion. Schofield won via unanimous decision versus Mercado to become WBA International Lightweight Champion. Collazo won via KO in round 5 versus Reyes. Rocha won via KO in round 7 versus Ashi to remain WBO NABO Welterweight Champion. And that is all the boxing news. Moving on now to the UFC news. So Shaw will fight Amir Nikani on the 18th of March. Vera will fight Sandhagen on the 19th of March. Makayev will fight Filho on the 18th of March. Mishgart versus Pfeiffer. Font versus Yanez Rosas Jr. versus Rodriguez. Holland versus Ponzinibbio. Burns versus Masvidal and Adesanya versus Pereira rematch will fight on the 8th of April, which is a great card which I'm very much excited for. Looking forward to not only just a rematch between Adesanya and Pereira, but that big fight versus Burns versus Masvidal. Obviously, it's not really any kind of title fight or anything, but it's going to prove who's really still at the top level, and that is one that I'm looking forward to. Shevchenko will fight Krasso on the 4th of March, and Krylov will fight Span on the 25th of February. And that is all the UFC news. Moving on now to the NFL news, where there's only a bit of news, but that being Panthers hiring Reach. Eagles won 31-7 versus 49ers, and Chiefs won 23-20 versus Bengals, and that sets up nicely the Super Bowl. which will be Eagles Chiefs final, and it's one which I'm very much looking forward to and should be a great game. And so yeah, that is it for today's video though. Hope you did enjoy. Like the video if you did, like the video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.